Taiwan is 58% forest, and many indigenous communities still rely on these forests for food, wood and other resources. For most of the 20th century, indigenous people gathering resources have been prosecuted by the government, which claims ownership of Taiwan's forests.
In more recent years, the government has taken steps to restore some indigenous rights to the land, but many indigenous people remain skeptical of these efforts. Officials, however, are hopeful that trust can grow over time. Here's our Sunday special report.
就开路啊！我们原住民有一把刀，盐巴，还有火柴、打火机啊，就可以生活了。
Walking along a steep cliff in Hualien, 73-year-old Taroko hunter A-ho navigates the trail with a purpose. We follow behind cautiously, careful not to lose our footing. A-ho surveys his surroundings, determining with one glance at the ground that a goat has passed by not long before.
像这个，这是山羊的那个祖籍，这个脚，它有祖籍啊，这个。
Having spent his childhood in the mountains and forests, A-ho can set out into the wilderness without food or water. He's in his element when he's out in nature.
Do you see it? That's a tuberous sword fern. Its water content is very high. The elders taught us that long ago. If you find yourself without water and you're very thirsty, look around for this and you'll have lots of water.
When indigenous people go into the mountains, they use bronze plates or offerings of food to pay respect to the spirits of the mountain and of their ancestors. For indigenous hunters, the mountains and forests are their backyard. However, since the Japanese colonial era, 99% of those mountains and forests have been claimed as government land. After the KMT government came to Taiwan in 1945, they put the nation's forests under the management of the Forestry Bureau. The traditional hunting and gathering activity of the indigenous peoples went under one legal restriction after another.
Sometimes when I hunt on my land and bring home a barking deer, I get apprehended by the National Park Police. I tell the prosecutor that I have been hunting since I was little. He will ask me, "Are you planning to sell this or what?" To which I say, "No, I hunted it so that I could eat it."
For a long time, indigenous people hunting or gathering on public land were at odds with the law. In mid-2019, policies were introduced to support their traditional ways of life. The Council of Agriculture and the Council of Indigenous Peoples jointly issued a statement on the lifestyle habits of indigenous peoples and rules on the gathering of forest resources.
Through these rules on gathering, we're hoping that the indigenous people can hold on to the gathering traditions.
The rules permit gathering in forests at the 55 indigenous towns and villages nationwide. So long as they are strictly for personal use, low-value forest resources such as rattan, bamboo shoots, and mushrooms can be freely gathered. More valuable items such as Taiwan red cypress, Taiwan incense cedar, and Taiwan hinoki can be gathered on certain conditions after filing an application to authorities.
It's the same as if we wanted to build a meeting place, clear a trail, build a pavilion, or set up any other type of facility needed by our indigenous communities. Those things are all for public use. If the community elders approve of the project, the Forestry Bureau's position is that the project is permissible so long as an application is made.
When it comes to trees that topple due to age or typhoons, indigenous communities have priority in the use of the wood. However, they must apply 3 months in advance of taking it.
Say that a tree falls off a cliff. There's no road that you can use to collect it. Of course, if the tree topples and the mountain is high and dangerous, I would give up on it if I were required to file an application to collect it.
Tien Chin-hsien, who is a sculptor, is resistant to the current government rules. He says that government-owned forests are deep in the mountains and cannot necessarily be accessed by roads. That increases the risk for those who want to collect forest resources. He says that people who file government applications are often rejected.
还有条件嘛，它条件里面
They have conditions, and each condition contains fine print. For example, Taiwan red cypress is top grade. Taiwan hinoki is also top grade. Taiwan incense cedar is also top grade. China fir and stout camphor are the Forestry Bureau's assets, so they won't let us take them. They push us aside and have us take the leftover wood.
It's apparent that Tien is unmoved by the government's olive branch toward indigenous people. Not only that, he says he harbors mistrust toward the new policy. Tien says he has been chased out from the forest before and has long since lost his trust in the government.
国民政府来的是沿用这个日本的公有地。
When the KMT government arrived, they took over the lands designated by the Japanese as public land. They classified the land on the mountains as government-owned land and designated some of it as national parks. This land was placed under the management of the Forestry Bureau, but we are still here. They never asked us what should be done with this land.
In 2015, the Council of Agriculture established committees at 9 forestry offices nationwide and invited indigenous communities to participate. Aside from improving the relationship between indigenous and non-indigenous Taiwanese, the COA aspired to win the support of indigenous communities.
过去有一些次生林，
There are these so-called secondary forests. They aren't natural forests. They were deforested and then trees were replanted. If loggers don't go in and harvest in these forests, you'd have soil and water conservation problems. With regard to these secondary forests, it's possible to thin them out periodically and use them as an economic resource. When you give indigenous people a seat at the table, you can learn from their wealth of knowledge about forest sustainability. You could also help indigenous communities get an economic return.
Aiming to preserve indigenous heritage and conserve forests, the government has taken a small step forward by setting up its joint committees. With time, this partnership could flourish and go a long way toward protecting the mountains, the forests, and a sustainable forest industry.